Our #1 goal is building power in our community, building power for working class people. No matter who you are, no matter your status, no matter your background, no matter how much change you've got in your pocket, everyone has something to offer.
She's 29 years old, and if she wins in the next election, and most likely she will, she'll become the youngest woman ever to serve in the House of Representatives. Now, there are many things that we need to know about Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. She was born in the Bronx. Her mother is from Puerto Rico. She's a democratic socialist. She's still paying off her student loans, and with her ideas, she's starting a revolution. That's precisely why we are here. Hola.
Hola.
I think they're waiting for you.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Hey, buenas tardes.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y usted?
Bien. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
So this is your neighborhood.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Hola, hola.
¿Saben que quiere ser la nueva congresista? ¿La conocen? Sí.
Sí, tenemos que votar noviembre, el 6 de noviembre.
La próxima presidente.
Congresista primero, por favor.
So they want you as president, eh? It's not bad, huh?
I know, right? I need to be congresswoman first.
So this is where you work, Alexandra Ocasio.
Yeah, our office is right over there.
Uh-huh.
And this is where we grab our cafe in the morning. And... Hey, how are you?
Good, you?
Good to see you.
Same thing.
You know her? Yeah.
No, I don't.
So what are you having, Alexandra?
I'm just gonna go with the cafe. They do it right here. They warm up the milk, which is classical.
So you just turned 29, right?
Yeah.
And then you sent a tweet, a really interesting tweet. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's right here. At 22, I was working with children and communities, right? At 25, I was waitressing to support my family. 28, I won my primary for Congress. I didn't have health insurance. Do you have health insurance now?
Now I do.
Now you do? Today I turned 29. I mean, it's been quite a ride.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. And I think it's really important for me to always tell the community, not just about where we're at right now, but the journey to get here. Because sometimes, even right now, in a political moment or a personal moment, things can feel so beyond repair. And it's so important in the time when we least have hope to actually be forceful and deliberate about choosing to be hopeful.
Why don't we see more faces like yours in the United States?
Well, I often say that power and power structures and machines, they exist to reinforce the power of those who have historically had it. So
They just reproduced itself. The same
exactly,
system.
it reproduces itself. So in this district, it is 70% people of color. It's about 50-60% Latino, but it's very diverse. It's overwhelmingly working class. It is half immigrant, and we've never had a person of color represent us in American history.
So when I see what's happening in the country, I see Donald Trump on one side, winning. He won the election.
Yeah.
And his nominee to the Supreme Court is already a justice. And then on the other hand, I see people like you. So what's the reality in this country? I mean, it seems that we're more divided than ever before.
I think that, interestingly enough, we are not as divided as some of what we're seeing plays out. Because when you actually look at the electorate, when you look at the people, our government is more divided than it has ever been before. But our people...
Republicans and Democrats fighting
in Congress,
the president in Congress.
Exactly. Our government has never been more divided, but our people have an overwhelming consensus. So we struggle to have true representation in our governance. And diversity, representation is just an issue across the board. Even here in some of the most liberal spaces, which is why, sometimes some folks would think candidacies like mine are disruptive because I did not ask for permission and I did not wait my turn.
Do you think they saw you as a disruptor?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Were they saying, what is she doing here?
Yeah, what is she doing? How dare she? And the truth of the matter is, if we spend our whole lives trying to ask for permission and ask for inclusion, we're never going to get it.
So you didn't ask for permission?
No, I did not ask for permission.
Let me ask you about being a democratic socialist. That's been used against you so many times. So please explain to me, what is that?
So I think what it means is, and I've said this before, but that in a modern, moral, and wealthy society, no person should be too poor to live. We should treat healthcare, housing, and education as rights. We should aim to afford them to all people in this country. I believe that we should guarantee a basic level of human dignity in America. At least what my candidacy and what our campaign represents is a return to the roots of the party, a return to the era of the New Deal, of the Great Society, of the Civil Rights Act, of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, really embodying the values that are at our core, which is that we fight for working people, we fight for social, economic, and racial justice. That is what we should be about.
So I have 10 big ideas that you have. I have my list.
Okay.
Okay, so can we go by one by one?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, so number 10.
Countdown.
Medicare for all. Is it too expensive?
No. People often say, like, how are you going to pay for it? And I find the question so puzzling because how do you pay for something that's more affordable? How do you pay for cheaper rent? How do you pay for, you just pay for it. We're paying more now. So it's not that we're saying this whole system is free. It's saying it is free of cost at the point of service. So that means that you're not delaying going to the dentist. You're not,
you don't have money.
because you don't have the cash at the point of service.
Number 9, tuition-free public universities for all. Who'll pay for that?
So we already pay for tuition-free K through 12. And in the same way that we made a decision as a country to say we need to educate people to a 12th grade level, our economy has evolved, and that means we need to make the decision to educate people to a trade school or collegiate level.
So we can afford that.
Absolutely.
Number 8, cancel student debt. Are you still paying off your student loans?
I am a student loan holder.
I cannot believe it. Really?
Yeah. So I graduated with about $20,000 in student loan debt, and that is an average or even below average load nowadays. And that's the thing I think people don't understand about our generation and the millennial generation. The world that we grew up in is incredibly and vastly different than the world that our parents grew up in. And so when you really kind of take our generation into context, a lot of this stuff, you understand the worldview that is shaping political movements like ours.
Because you're starting with a heavy load.
Yeah. And it's also a fundamental belief of mine that no person should go into debt in order to enter the workplace. That doesn't make any sense.
Number 7, legalization of marijuana. Only marijuana?
So I believe in the full legalization of marijuana. I do think that we can explore, when it comes to other substances, I think that we need to loosen regulations to allow them to be studied more for medical purposes.
Number 6, new Green Deal, 100% renewable energy by 2035.
Yeah.
Is it realistic?
It's as realistic as we have the courage to save future generations. And the IPCC released a report that said we have 12 years left to address climate change, or else our children and our grandchildren will experience cataclysmic disaster in their lifetime.
But even today, many politicians, they don't think that climate change is a reality.
Yeah.
Or that it's man-made, for instance.
My number one goal is not to convince other politicians. My number one goal is to connect with everyday people and convince them that this is the right path forward.
And that a change is needed.
And that once everyday people decide that A, they should vote, and B, they should vote on these values, their representatives take care of themselves because they elect representation that reflects those values.
Number 5, two-state solution for Israel and the Palestinians.
Yeah, and I think that what this is really an issue of is securing human rights, and where we have justice is where we will have peace. And it's not about choosing whether you're pro one nation or another. This is about making sure that we are putting peace and human rights first.
Number 4, stand with Puerto Rico. And that means a lot.
I think it means a couple of things. I think we need a Marshall Plan for Puerto Rico.
Marshall Plan.
I believe in a Marshall Plan. It's already been introduced in the Senate. We have yet to have one in the House, a bill for this in the House. But it is a broad-based, multi-billion-dollar investment in rebuilding Puerto Rico with 100% renewable energy grid and making sure that we have a just transition for people in Puerto Rico. I believe it personally. I believe that it also means we should have legitimate and binding self-determination on the island, that when Puerto Ricans vote for a status, they should get that status.
Number 3, gun control. No money for gun lobby.
80% of Americans believe in common sense gun safety. And frankly, right now, if you are an elected official that is not advocating for gun safety laws, you are fighting against the will of the American people, period.
Idea number 2, abolish ICE.
So this is important to me. This is very important to me. This is very important to our district.
And we're surrounded by immigrants, by the way.
Yeah, our district is 50% immigrant, and
Many of them undocumented, you think?
many are undocumented, many are documented. But what we are seeing now is ICE is starting to go after naturalized citizens. They're starting to go after people who have been documented. You look at Dreamers, you look at TPS, you look at a vast majority of visas and the types of visa lines, the Muslim ban. This is a moral crossroads for our nation. And to me, it is my belief that an agency that systematically and repeatedly violates human rights, which is what we are seeing with children on our border, cannot be reformed.
But should ICE be replaced with something else?
I think
or just get rid of it?
I think that, and this is a common question that comes up, because there is this question of enforcement. What do we enforce? It doesn't mean that we become a lawless land. I think that there are serious crimes that deserve to be enforced, crimes like human trafficking. I believe that enforcement of serious crimes should go to the Department of Justice.
And number 1, impeach Donald Trump. You want to impeach Donald Trump?
I mean, yeah, to me it's a no-brainer.
Really?
Yeah.
You would impeach him because?
Well, I believe that he has violated the law. Violated potentially many laws, whether it's the emoluments clause of the Constitution, because he keeps his businesses open that foreign actors kind of participate in financial transactions with, whether it's what we are seeing with potentially illegal buyouts of campaign, FEC violations of women that he is trying to silence. But overall, you look at the bar, for example, that the Republican Party held for impeaching Bill Clinton, and somehow impeaching Donald Trump is supposed to be beyond the pale. It seems ridiculous to me.
The reality is that candidates like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and politicians from both political parties, Democrats and Republicans, cannot win without your vote. So let me tell you a little personal story. For almost 50 years, I couldn't vote. I didn't vote in Mexico when I was younger because Mexico was not a democracy, and I couldn't vote in the United States because I was not a U.S. citizen. But that has changed. Since the year 2008, I voted in every single election because I've learned a couple of things. 1, that I don't want others to decide for me. 2, that one vote can change many lives. And 3, that democracy is beautiful. If you don't like something, you vote and you change it. So on November the 6th, vote. Use your voice.